It wasn't just another panel, it was a televised ambush. The studio lights were sharp, the kind that make truth hard to hide. 3 seats, 1 table, and millions watching. But only one person truly knew the script. Donald Trump leaned back in his chair like a director off stage. He wouldn't speak much. That was never the plan. He didn't need to. He had already handed the spotlight to Karoline Levitt. And Karoline? She wasn't just ready. She was rehearsed, polished, smiling with her teeth, not her eyes. Sitting across from her, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. No notes, no handlers, just a calm, unshaken stare. Karoline broke the silence. Congresswoman, let me just ask you plainly. Do you believe Israel has the right to defend itself against Hamas? Before Jasmine could respond, Karoline added, or are you one of those who mourn terrorists more than victims? The trap was perfect. Answer directly. She's branded anti-Israel. Dodge. She's weak. Push back. She's angry. Trump smirked. He'd seen this play out before. Jasmine didn't flinch. She didn't speak. She simply adjusted her mic and waited. Karoline, feeling momentum, kept going. Is this the same Jasmine Crockett who claimed Palestinian children deserve American empathy while American soldiers die defending freedom? Trump nodded slightly, exactly as planned. Karoline was aggressive, quick, relentless. She wasn't asking questions. She was building a narrative, one meant to corner Jasmine with labels before she ever spoke. But Jasmine wasn't cornered. She was calculating. And then she moved. Gently, she reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. From it, she slid a single sheet across the table. It was a map. Before I answer, she said slowly, can I show you where those children lived? Silence. Even Karoline paused. Even Trump raised an eyebrow. You want to talk about defense? Jasmine asked. Let's start by knowing what we're defending and who we're forgetting. The camera zoomed in on the map. Small red dots marked schools, hospitals, homes. Jasmine didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to, because in a room built for noise, she brought something far more dangerous: stillness. Karoline blinked, not once, twice. She hadn't expected Jasmine to bring a map. It wasn't digital. It wasn't a dramatic animation. It was a simple, printed map, the kind teachers use when truth needs to be taught, not sold. Jasmine unfolded it fully on the table. This is northern Gaza, she said. These aren't targets. They're neighborhoods. Red dots scattered across the paper like freckles of grief. Some were schools, some hospitals, some homes with no roofs left. The room was quiet. Trump leaned forward now, eyes narrowing. Karoline tried to recover. So you're suggesting Israel shouldn't defend itself? That terrorism doesn't exist? Jasmine's eyes didn't move. I'm suggesting that if your defense kills children in their sleep, then maybe what you're defending isn't safety. It's silence. Gasps. The moderator shifted in her chair. Karoline straightened up. That's an outrageous accusation. You're calling an ally a war criminal. Jasmine didn't blink. Number, I'm saying accountability should never depend on the flag flying overhead. Now the silence was different. Not awkward, electric. Trump leaned back. His smirk faded. Online, the clip hit Twitter before the commercial break. A single line went viral. Maybe what you're defending isn't safety. It's silence. In campaign war rooms, advisors panicked. In living rooms, viewers leaned in. And in that studio, Karoline looked at Jasmine not like an opponent, but like someone she didn't know how to stop. The break was over. Karoline's smile had sharpened. Behind the scenes, her aides had just slipped her a folder, a file Jasmine knew all too well. She recognized the tactic. When arguments failed, make it personal. Karoline turned toward the camera. It's interesting, Congresswoman, how you speak about justice when you once defended known criminals in court. She placed the file on the table, gently sliding it toward the moderator. Isn't it true you represented gang members accused of violent crimes? That you once called a man, convicted of assault, a victim of the system? Jasmine didn't flinch. didn't blink. She reached out, calmly pulled the file toward her, and flipped it open, as if reading her own biography for the first time. Then she looked up. "Yes," she said, "and I'd do it again." Karoline blinked. Jasmine continued. "Because justice doesn't start when someone is innocent. It starts when someone is seen. I didn't defend crimes. I defended people. People this system chews up and forgets." The moderator tried to interject. Jasmine held up a single finger, not to silence, but to finish. "You talk about law and order. I talk about a 15-year-old boy who was arrested without a lawyer, about a mother who begged me to show up because no one else would. If that makes me dangerous to your narrative, good." The audience. Silent. Trump, watching, jaw tight. Karoline turned the page. "You've also criticized U.S. funding for foreign allies. Do you believe we should abandon Israel entirely?" Jasmine smiled for the first time. I believe we should stop funding silence." The cameras kept rolling. Social media caught fire. One clip now dominated the internet. "Justice doesn't start when someone is innocent. It starts when someone is seen." Trump didn't like what he was seeing. The room was leaning. Not toward Karoline, not toward him, toward her, toward Jasmine. So he did what he always does when the stage feels like it's slipping. He took it back. "All right," Trump said, leaning into the mic with that familiar grin. "This is all nice and poetic, but let's talk reality. Israel is our ally, always has been, always will be. What you're doing, Congresswoman, it's dangerous. You're emboldening terrorists." The camera zoomed in. Jasmine didn't respond immediately. Trump smirked. "Silence, huh? No comeback this time?" She adjusted her mic. "I don't speak in sound bites, Mr. President." Trump chuckled, a short, forced laugh. Jasmine continued. "It's easy to call something dangerous when you don't have to face it. Easy to use words like terrorist when it keeps you from having to say child. But let me be clear. Speaking a name is not terrorism. Asking for accountability is not betrayal. And calling for peace is not weakness." Trump leaned back, but the fire was in his eyes now. "You know, when I was in office, we had peace through strength." Jasmine didn't hesitate. "No, Mr. Trump. You had silence through fear. There's a difference." Gasps. The moderator froze. Karoline's face dropped. That moment spread like wildfire. On every platform, one line echoed louder than anything else. "You had silence through fear. There's a difference." Backstage, producers whispered into earpieces. Phones vibrated. Clips were being cut mid-show, already trending. Jasmine didn't move. She didn't gloat. She just waited, because she knew something they didn't. She hadn't even started yet. Jasmine leaned forward, not to interrupt, not to react, but to reclaim. "Let me ask a question." Trump waved his hand dismissively. "Oh, now you're asking the questions?" Jasmine didn't break eye contact. "You both just spent 15 minutes defending Israel's right to security, and I agree, everyone deserves to feel safe. But tell me this, when a press member is killed by an ally and no one is held accountable, who exactly are we protecting?" Karoline looked to Trump. Trump didn't speak. Jasmine kept going. "When a child dies in an airstrike and no one can say their name on this stage, is that strength? Or is it fear dressed as patriotism?" Silence. The moderator opened her mouth, then stopped. The camera zoomed in. "You call me dangerous, but I've never been afraid of questions. You want strength? Strength is standing in front of your base and telling them truth still matters, even when it makes them uncomfortable." Trump shifted in his chair. Karoline reached for her water. Jasmine continued. "And if naming a dead journalist makes this country tremble, then maybe the tremble is overdue." Social media was already exploding. Clips of Karoline speechless, clips of Trump blinking, clips of Jasmine calm as ever, asking what no one else would. Who exactly are we protecting? Is this strength or fear dressed as patriotism? They weren't statements, they were mirrors, and America was staring into them. Karoline leaned forward, her voice rising. I'm sorry, but we can't let this become a lecture in victimhood. Jasmine raised a single hand. No. Karoline froze. The moderator paused. Excuse me? Karoline said. No, Jasmine repeated, her voice low but unshakable. You don't get to interrupt pain with performance. Gasps. Even Trump looked caught off guard. You talk about patriotism like it's property, Jasmine continued. But patriotism isn't yelling loudest about the flag. It's asking whether we still deserve to fly it proudly. The audience, once tense, was now transfixed. Karoline tried again. I'm just saying, no, you're spinning, and I'm done letting you. Jasmine pulled a second document from her folder, this time, a list. These are the journalists killed in the last decade, some by regimes, some by allies, but all forgotten because someone thought the truth was too dangerous. She laid it on the table. Their names aren't talking points, they're reminders of what happens when we let the loudest voices define what's right. Trump stayed silent. Karoline's eyes scanned the page, but she said nothing, because there it was, in ink and silence, everything she couldn't argue with. Online, the clip became something else entirely, not just viral, historic. You don't get to interrupt pain with performance. It was printed on shirts by midnight, turned into headlines by dawn, quoted in classrooms, whispered in protest circles. And Jasmine, she just sat back, let the paper speak, let the truth sit where noise used to live, because now they all knew this wasn't about winning a moment, this was about ending a silence. The moderator tried to steer the conversation back. Let's return to the broader topic. Jasmine leaned in. No, let's not. The room froze. We always change the subject when things get uncomfortable, but discomfort is where truth lives. She picked up the list of journalists again. Shireen Abu Akleh, killed while wearing press in bold letters, no investigation, no justice, no consequences. And yet, I'm the one accused of being dangerous, for saying her name. Trump adjusted his mic, but didn't speak. Karoline looked down. Jasmine continued. Let me ask you something, she said, scanning the room. What does it say about us when saying a dead woman's name is more controversial than the bullet that killed her? The silence wasn't awkward. It was heavy, alive, breathing. We fund weapons. We send billions. But we can't send one sentence that says, she mattered. In the control room, a producer whispered, she just hijacked the show. And it was true. The show wasn't following a script anymore. It was following her. You want to call me unpatriotic? Jasmine said. Then I say this. If patriotism means silence, I'd rather be loud. Hashtags lit up. She mattered. Say her name. Rather be loud. And across the nation something cracked. Not a system, not a party, a spell. The illusion that only certain voices get to define love of country. Because in that moment, Jasmine wasn't defending herself. She was redefining patriotism. Trump finally leaned in. Look, this is getting emotional. I understand passion, but we have to stay focused. The moderator turned toward him, relieved he was re-engaging. Let's talk facts, Trump said. The world is dangerous. You want peace, but the other side wants war. Jasmine didn't interrupt. She just waited. And when you say names like Shireen Abu Akleh, you're feeding into anti-American sentiment. Then he turned directly to her. What happened to supporting your country first? Jasmine exhaled slowly. Then she spoke. My country is the one that taught me to speak up. My country is the one that put justice for all in its pledge. If holding allies accountable makes me less American, then maybe we need to redefine what American means. Trump frowned. Jasmine kept going. Because what's more American than demanding the truth? What's more patriotic than refusing to stay quiet? She tapped the table with her finger, once. Silence doesn't make you loyal. It just makes you late to justice. The moderator froze. Even the audience had stopped breathing. Karoline finally spoke, her voice shaky. So what? Every country we work with should be investigated, even our closest allies? Jasmine didn't hesitate. If they kill a journalist, yes. That line hit the studio like a shockwave, not loud, not angry, just true. Clips hit the internet in under a minute. Silence doesn't make you loyal, it just makes you late to justice. It trended globally within the hour. Backstage, Trump's advisors were already drafting statements, but none would land, because Jasmine's truth wasn't campaign proof, it was people proof. In that moment, America saw something rare, not a viral clapback, not a soundbite, a moral anchor, and she wasn't yelling, she was leading. Karoline straightened in her seat. With all due respect, Congresswoman, what you're doing is undermining our credibility on the world stage. Jasmine didn't flinch. No, she said quietly. I'm just refusing to cover our crimes in the language of freedom. Karoline pushed again. And what about deterrence? What about strength? Jasmine's reply was different this time. She didn't speak. She reached into her folder once more and pulled out a photograph. A little girl, maybe 7, dust on her face, standing in the rubble of a building that no longer existed. She placed the photo on the table. The camera zoomed in. You want to talk about deterrence? She said. Then look at her and say the word. Karoline opened her mouth, then closed it. The studio didn't breathe. Even Trump shifted uncomfortably. We keep calling this complicated, Jasmine said, so we don't have to call it what it is. This isn't about borders. This is about bodies. The moderator glanced off camera. Producers were signaling to cut to commercial. But no one dared move, because Jasmine wasn't performing. She was witnessing. Then she said it. Say her name. The moderator blinked. Whose name? Shireen Abu Akleh. Say it out loud. The moderator paused. Then she did. Shireen Abu Akleh. It echoed. It stuck. It unlocked something. The audience stirred. Online, thousands began posting. Say her name. Say them all. Don't stop. Karoline never got the last word. Trump didn't either, because the last word belonged to everyone watching. The moderator finally signaled the end of the segment. We're out of time, but no one stood, no one moved, because Jasmine hadn't finished. Not really. She looked at the photo on the table, at the map, at the names, at the silence that had once filled this room like smoke. Then she looked into the camera. You tried to trap me with politics, she said. You tried to bury truth under talking points, but I didn't come here to argue. I came here to remember. She paused. And if remembering makes me unpatriotic to you, maybe your patriotism has forgotten too much. Trump didn't speak. Karoline lowered her gaze. Because what could they say? This wasn't a win. It wasn't a loss. It was something heavier. A reckoning. Jasmine stood. She didn't wait for applause. She didn't smile. She just folded the photo, slipped the map back into her folder, and as she stepped away from the table, she said one final thing. I didn't take the mic to be heard. I took it because someone else couldn't. Fade to black. But the silence didn't return. Because across the country, in living rooms, on buses, behind desks, in classrooms, voices rose. Shireen Abu Akleh. Say her name. Don't stop. Not again. Never again. Trump gave her the stage. Karoline set the trap. But Jasmine took the mic and changed the script. Forever. I wasn't invited here to be loud. I wasn't handed this mic to be liked. I stood in this room to speak for those who no longer can. You called it weakness. I call it witnessing. You called it politics. I call it remembering. And if that makes me the enemy in your story, I'll wear that title, so long as truth has no other advocate in this room. Because justice doesn't arrive when it's convenient. It arrives when someone dares to speak in inconvenient ways. So no, I didn't flip the script to win the moment. I flipped it because the moment deserved better.